Test 1, 2, 3, test. The meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bacilli? Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Present. Mr. Mazzoni? Present. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Present.
Present. Quorum is present.
To everyone in the audience, this evening we only have a 4-member board, so you do have the option to ask for a continuance. We will conduct the public hearings. So it would be up to the choice of the applicant or their counsel if they wish to continue. 4 out of 5 votes are required to pass it.
The first application before the board is application A1710. This is a special permit application continued from the meeting of 4/26/17. The application of Harry Bandar, 4 Sheldon Circle, Middleton, Mass., requesting a special permit to expand a non-conforming structure by raising the existing structure and reconstructing a single-family dwelling at 15 Arcadia Street, Revere.
Now, based on the last meeting, it was continued so that the applicant could have a site meeting with the ward councilor and the abutters, and that did take place. So if the ward councilor would like to speak, please do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We did meet down on the site shortly after the last meeting when it was continued. Since that time, both the person that was an opponent at that time is now a proponent, as I myself am, because I think all of the concerns have been satisfied on that property, and it's going to be a single-family house. There's no 2 families going in it or anything like that. So I'm here today to support the proponent, and actually 2 proponents, the abutter and the guy that's doing the work down there. So I would hope that this board would look favorably on that. Thank you.
The only question that I had on that was that there was 2 parking spaces, and I believe that is correct, correct? Yes. Okay. So we can continue on to our next calendar item. We'll be voting at the end.
The next application before the board is application A1711. This is the application of Brian Cool, 93 Jock Street, Somerville, requesting a special permit and for front, rear, side yard, maximum principal building coverage, height, maximum number of stories, and parking variances to enable the appellant to raise and reconstruct a single-family 3-story dwelling at 261 Bellingham Ave, Revere.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Corey Rhodes. I'm an attorney with D'Ambrosio Brown, LLP, 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere. I represent the applicant, Brian Cool. This may sound like a lot of requests that are being asked for here, but it really is taking one single-family house down and putting another single-family in its place. And there are some significant benefits to this. The current property is dilapidated, to say the least, and been an eyesore in the neighborhood. The new single-family home that's coming in is going to be just a better design, better functioning for this kind of unusual corner lot, and also be providing 1 off-street parking space. This property has never had any off-street parking, so we think that's kind of a big a big benefit in a city where parking is always an issue. So we think it's a good project. A lot of the non-conformities of the current structure, they're being improved slightly by this project. The setbacks are getting a little further extended and a little more open space and things like that by this new home. We've talked with a lot of the neighbors in the area, and they don't have an opposition to it. A lot of them want to see the current house be taken down. I think it's, in their view, about time. So if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer those, and we appreciate your support.
Okay, where it's a public hearing, I'll open it up for proponents. Anyone in favor? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to speak? Okay, next calendar item number.
The next application before the board is application A1712. This is the application of BJM Realty Investment LLC, 193 Crescent Avenue, Revere, requesting minimum lot area and not a qualified pre-existing lot, as the lots do not have frontage on a constructed public way, which was constructed prior to January 1, 1994, to enable the appellant to construct a two-family dwelling on lots 279 through 282 Loma Street, and another two-family dwelling on lots 283 through 286 Loma Street, adjacent to 38 Loma Street, Revere.
Again, Corey Rhodes with D'Ambrosio Brown, LLP, 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere. I represent the applicant. This is a somewhat straightforward proposal. There are vacant lots out on the end of Loomis Street that my client is seeking variance relief as to the constructed way provision under the qualified lots determination under the ordinance. This was a road that was laid out in 1920s, but has not yet been constructed. My client will be going in front of the planning board to construct this way and meeting the requirements to make that happen. This would be two families. They would have all required parking. In building out this way, one of the things that my client will be doing is doing a turnaround for emergency apparatus. So a lot of these dead-end streets, a fire truck goes down there, they have a big difficulty getting back out if they ever get stuck there, maybe multiple turns, things like that. So one of the things in going before the planning board will be appropriately designing the end of this way so that it can handle an emergency apparatus. Additionally, my client operates a landscaping company. We're expecting these to be highly manicured properties, nice new buildings that will really add to the Loomis Street neighborhood, and we're hoping to even improve property values. Again, this is a roadway that was laid out in the 1920s, and we're just seeking your approval to make these lots happen. With the square footage that is available, he could have come in and asked for multiple apartments or things like that. So this is actually a less dense building that could have otherwise been allowed. If you have any questions, again, we'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you. Seeing that the public hearing, are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. This will be going in front of the planning board as well, and I appreciate the turnaround because that was my big concern. Next calendar item number.
The next item before the board is application A1713. This refers to previous application A1614. This is the application of 90 Ocean Avenue LLC, 140 Tremont Street, Everett, requesting a parking variance to enable the appellant to construct 75 residential apartment units at 90 Ocean Avenue, Revere.
Good afternoon.
Again, Corey Rhodes with D'Ambrosio Brown, LLP. The applicant is actually requesting that this matter be continued to the next calendar hearing, just to give the applicant a chance to look at the proposal again before coming forward.
Okay, seeing that it is a public hearing, though, I do have to ask if there are any proponents. Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Is there a motion to continue? Seconded, roll
Question
call.
comes on the continuance of this matter to the next meeting. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this matter is continued to the meeting of
June 21st.
June 21st is the next meeting.
Next calendar item number?
The next matter before the board is application A1714, the application of Anessis Brito, 15 Albert Ave, Revere, requesting minimum rear yard and side yard variances to enable the appellant to construct a 12-foot wide by 27-foot in length unclosed exterior deck with stairs in the rear and side yards at 15 Albert Avenue, Revere.
Is the applicant in the audience? Good afternoon. Kindly state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Ananias Brito, 15 Albert Ave, Revere, Mass. I brought this property about 10 years ago. I have existing porch since they built the house. It's now in bad condition, unsafe as a matter of fact, so I would like to rebuild it, but I would like to extend it 2 feet longer and just to rebuild it and have a safe porch.
Okay. Seeing that this is a public hearing, I'll have to ask if there's any proponents. Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. I do have a question. So this porch is 2 levels at this point?
Yes, 2 levels.
So you're going to continue with the 2
With
levels?
the 2 level, yes, exactly.
And you're
Exactly
enclosing
same.
it, but no habitation? There'd be no bedrooms or anything like that?
No, it's
It's unenclosed?
yes.
So it's unenclosed, it's not a closed-in?
It's not a closed
Okay.
end, not porch. No, it's just regular porch. It's just,
Am I correct to say that the expansion would be on both levels?
both levels, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the applicant has confirmed that it's going to be unenclosed, and it's expansion on both levels, level 1 and level 2.
Correct.
Okay. Having no further questions, we'll be,
Mr. Chairman, for the record, the board is in receipt of a communication from Robert O'Brien, Economic Development Coordinator, Director for the city, relative to application A1713 in support of the application. The letter will be made part of the record.
okay.
And we're also in receipt of a communication from Mr. Michelson asking the board to reconsider application A1704 special permit. Just advise the board that the board has no procedures to reconsider matters voted by the board.
So we'll place that on file. It's on file. Okay. You can have a seat. We're going to be voting in a minute.
The first matter before the board is application A1710, special permit, Harry Bandar, to raise and reconstruct a single-family dwelling at 15 Arcadia Street, Revere. Question comes on granting the relief requested by the applicant.
Roll call.
Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes. This is granted.
So please, on that vote, you'll be getting a letter from the city clerk's office. Please wait until you get the letter to do anything with the building department.
The next application before the board is application A1711, special permit. Brian Cool for a special permit and variances to enable the appellant to raise and reconstruct a single-family 3-story dwelling at 261 Bellingham Avenue in Revere. Question comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. The next application before the board is application A1712. This is the application of BJM Realty Investment LLC, 193 Crescent Avenue, requesting various variances to enable the appellant to construct a two-family dwelling on lots 279 through 282 Loma Street, and another two-family dwelling on lots 283 through 286 Loma Street, adjacent to 38 Loma Street. Question comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. The next application before the board is application A1714. Mr. Brito, 15 Albert Avenue, requesting variances to enable the appellant to construct a 12-foot wide by 27-foot in length unenclosed exterior deck with stairs in the rear and side yards on both level 1 and level 2 at 15 Albert Avenue, Revere. Question comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto is absent. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes.
It's continued. He asked for the continuance. We voted to continue. Our next meeting will be on June 21st at 4 p.m.